Today we're going to go over some of the Excel basics so that we can really hit the ground running next class and have you practicing with basic formulas and the basic functions of Excel. First thing I want to go over with you are spreadsheets and what that means. When you're on Excel, the Excel program, the actual program that you're using is actually a spreadsheet. With this spreadsheet, you can do the following. You can enter data, you can use it to calculate data, you can then use it to analyze the data that you have by creating charts and manipulating that data so that you can see, okay, if I put this information in, what's going to happen. Some common uses of spreadsheets that you guys might be familiar with. For example, when a company is trying to organize their money and they're trying to keep track of their finances and their expenses, they might use a spreadsheet where they can enter in the amount of money that they've spent on different products and then how much money they are getting from sales. So that's kind of the basics. This is how spreadsheets are being used. This is the look of Excel. When we use Excel in this class, it's going to look exactly like this. This is the user interface. We have a quick access toolbar, which you're going to see on every Microsoft program. You're also going to see your tabs at the top. And remember, on each tab is a ribbon. We're going to get in the habit of saying ribbon rather than toolbar because it's a little different than previous versions of Microsoft. You also have a formula bar. This is where you're going to see the formulas that are in each cell. When you click on an active cell, you're going to see the formula appear up there. You can enter data into that, or you can just view the data that's in there. As you can see, we've highlighted the active cell A1. So whenever you click on that, that's when you're going to see that active cell. You're also going to see columns and rows. The columns are letters, the rows are numbers. And at the bottom, you're going to see that there's multiple sheets. So for each spreadsheet that you're making, you can actually have multiple sheets that show different data. You can also have one sheet that has numbers, the other sheet has charts, and we're going to be playing around with a lot of that. So that's kind of the basic look of everything. Okay, when we're moving from one active cell to the next, you can use tab to move across the rows, or you can just click enter. That actually moves you down a column. You can also use your arrows just like you're used to using in other programs. To know which one's going to be active, it's going to be in bold. It's going to have an outline around it, and the name box is going to show that active cell. You can also just enter the name of the cell in that box and it's going to jump to that specific cell. And finally, like I said before, when you're in that active cell, the formula bar is going to show what content is in there. It could be a formula, as the name describes, but it could also be a word. It could just be a number, depending what's in that active cell. Okay, so when we're using formulas, they're actually going to do calculations for us. We don't actually have to use a calculator or mental math to figure out, an answer to a problem. When you type in a formula, you're always going to put an equal sign in front of it, no matter what. So you're going to reference some particular cell rather than putting in a number. This way, when you change the value of that cell, the result of the formula actually changes automatically, which is really cool, and it makes our math a lot easier. So an example of a formula would be referring to a cell like C7 equals C5 plus C6. So what that is telling you is that whatever value is in C5 and whatever value is in C6, those two added together are going to give you the value of C7, whatever is in that active cell. And we're going to see a lot of different formulas this year. Now, as far as what operators we're going to use, the ones you're pretty familiar with: a plus sign for addition, minus sign for subtraction. Multiplication, though, is an asterisk. It's not the X that you guys are used to in math class. And then the division is a backslash. And just be careful that you're using a backslash and not a forward slash. Your backslash is the one next to your question mark. You can also find it over in your numeric keys as well. So let's take a look at how this all looks on Excel. So I'm going to go head down to Excel right now. And as this is opening, I just want to remind you that, today I'm just kind of showing you the basics to play around with. But when you guys get into this class, you're going to be doing a little bit more, calculating, predicting, and we're going to be doing really cool things that hopefully you can use in the future in this. Now you're going to notice that my workbook is a little bit different because I'm using a Mac. When we're at school, you're going to be using Windows, but a lot of the same functions are going to happen. So right now you're going to see that my active cell is A1, and you can see in the name box it says A1, and you can also see in the formula bar that there's no data in there. If I wanted to add data in there, I could either click in here and type a number, okay, and you'll see it's showing up right here in the formula bar. Or the other option is I can actually type it up in the formula bar and it'll appear in the active cell. So let's just do a quick example here. So let's put 30 in A1 and we'll put 20 in B1. And in here, I'm going to put in a formula. So formulas always start with equals, so I'm going to say equals A1 plus B1. And hopefully what's going to happen is 30 plus 20 is going to give us the answer 50. So when I push enter, you'll see the answer turns to 50. Now here's where Excel's really cool, because I can actually go back, change the number in A1, and the number in C1 is going to change automatically. So if I change this number to 20, click enter, it's going to change the formula response to 40. And if I'm ever unsure and I want to know what formula is in here, I can actually just click over here and you look in the formula bar, it shows you what formula is in that active cell. So some of the things that I want you guys to be aware of is how this can apply to you in the real world. One of my favorite uses of Excel was when I was teaching 7th grade and I had to plan the peak field trip, which you guys are familiar with, you remember from last year, and I would use it to organize where all the kids were, what groups they were in, and what cabins they were in. So when I had to look up, for example, how many people were in cabin 42, I could simply go to my spreadsheet, I can sort my data, and I can see all those people on one sheet. And that's the kinds of things that you guys are going to learn to do this year. And you're also going to learn how to use this to do basic formulas. You're going to use this to create charts. So I just want you guys, again, today is just to play around with the basics and try to understand the layout. So we're actually going to spend a little time going through the different tabs, looking at the ribbon for each one of these tabs, so that you can get comfortable with it before we really get into some more complicated information. And so I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you in class tomorrow.